It's also interesting because maybe a more modern microcosm of the problem of what is the true tradition for man is what's true conservatism now. Like it's downstream from that problem because when you now you look at a Trump rally, they have a trans person, they have a online OnlyFans chick. You got and they're basically saying we got to get the vote and we'll use anybody we can. And I'm looking and going, what is the vote? Let's just imagine voting mattered, right? Let's just say, oh, it's real. What good is it if you have a culture of complete degenerates, but you win the conservative vote? They're really not seeing this problem, which I always say is a problem of valuing liberty above obedience or something like this, right? But this is a big problem, and it seems to be a smaller version of the problem you just stated of this constant battle, a necessary battle of what's the true good tradition, what are we here for, what's the, as you would say, what's the true telos. And
no, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Go ahead. No, that was it.
Who's that guy that wrote about the religion of democracy? One of the conservative critics, maybe Tomislav Sunik, or one of these guys wrote a book about, maybe it's Hoppe. Anyway, but there's basically people have been noticing on the right for a long time that, like, if you sever the conservative or the right wing from the transcendent, it's just another gradual, slower version of liberalism and Overton window and basically dialectical mind control.
Yeah, and we're seeing it in real time. I mean, everyone's so surprised. Oh, when I was a liberal growing up, and I'm basically seen as a right-wing lunatic right now, and it's because all of right and left-wing politics at this point, because I think that it values liberty above everything, enlightenment, first principles, and all these things. It can't ever be something other than trends. It seems to be a consequence of the first position, which is, well, liberty. Let's preserve liberty. Well, if you preserve liberty, you preserve individualism. And if you value individualism above all and liberty, you're going to have these variations of how to act in the world that must be accepted so long as they don't, take people's stuff, right? This kind of view, this Michael Malice approach. And how could we be surprised that both the right and left, as we see them as just this giant groups of people, let's say generally speaking, that they change in the times. They change in the times. Yet you look at the church, let's say, you go to any Orthodox church, they're all doing the same tradition, same liturgy, same content, basically, forever. So people are dying. This is the irony here, is that the people are on the right are desperate for something that's it's got its position and never moves, and yet they never really go for it. They just kind of go.
They're all committed. Yeah, they've all been converted without knowing it to the religion of flux. That everything is in flux and stasis and change, because they all invariably worship the religion of evolution, whether they know it or not. And so if evolution is true, then everything is evolving and in flux. And so that means that societies, morals, culture, all of those things are also constantly evolving. And so what's the natural, what would be the political organization of a society that believes that? Democracy.
Right.
Because democracy is the lowest common denominator, and that's the will of the masses. The masses express most proficiently, I guess they would assume, the collective blob in its evolutionary change.
Yeah, that's exactly well put. I mean, you can answer this real quick. Is there any good books critiquing Enlightenment? I watch videos more than books, but Jay, you can answer.
I mean, there's a ton of them. I mean, every continental philosopher, for the most part, since the Enlightenment has been critiquing it. Husserl, Heidegger, Nietzsche, Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard has a great critique. Most of actually Kierkegaard's critiques are Dostoevsky's books are about critiquing the Enlightenment, especially Notes from the Underground. Anyway, so yeah, pretty much all those characters. I mean, Nietzsche's one of the best I'm not a Nietzschean, but I would have plenty of critiques of Nietzsche, but he's one of the greatest critics of the Enlightenment.